What if your best body and brightest energy are still ahead, no matter your age? Welcome, listeners, to the Masters of Wellness podcast. My name is Edward Curtin, joined by co-hosts Chuck, the cat whisperer, waiting for Garfield to pop up on your lap soon. Kari, the holistic healer. Today, we are busting the myth that midlife means slowing down. Instead, we're exploring how women over 50 can ignite their metabolism, balance hormones, and build a life they love, thanks to Lisa Swanson's proven approach. Lisa Swanson is a leading voice in women's wellness, known for helping women over 50 achieving lasting weight loss and confidence through her BASE base model and signature 16-week metabolic design program. Lisa, welcome to the Masters of Wellness podcast.
Welcome to the Masters of Wellness podcast, your ultimate path to holistic health, wellness, and success. Discover the powerful fusion of Eastern wisdom and Western science, designed to balance your mind, body, and spirit. Our channel brings you holistic wellness practices, effective strategies to boost productivity, and insights on stress reduction and active aging. Join our global community and transform your life with holistic wellness. Cheers to a healthier, happier you.
Well, thank you for having me here. I'm really excited about this conversation we're about to have.
Yeah, it's
so am I, girl.
Absolutely our pleasure. So, Lisa, let's maybe just go back to the beginning. What got you into this industry? Was there a moment in your life where you realized this is what you wanted to do? You wanted to help women through their journey?
Well, the beginning goes way back. When I first decided I wanted health and fitness, and I think just briefly that just spoke to me not knowing what I wanted to do. Probably being ADHD and not being able to sit down and do an office job. And I had to move, never diagnosed ADHD, but I'm self-diagnosing myself, looking at my daughters and things like that. But through the years, through the 80s, the 90s, the early 2000s, I can't say that there was a light bulb moment that made me say, wow, I really need to work with women over 50. It was just these little things that just kept on coming up that made me just think, well, that's interesting. Like looking at, my clients struggling as they got older, things not working the same. Now, remember, there weren't any studies done at the time on women over 50 or on women. Most studies back then were all done on men. They didn't want to deal with women's hormones messing up their studies. So most studies, if you look on, they are done on men, not women. So we were omitted from studies. Doctors ignored us. So it was feeling invisible that everybody was feeling. You go to the doctor and you're saying, I'm having this symptoms. There's so many different symptoms from menopause. And doctor's saying, you're getting older. I remember a doctor saying that to me one time. I went in for just a regular checkup and saying, I said, well, you're healthy. Your weight is good. I said, yeah. I said, my body composition is changing a little bit. I said, I want to get a little bit leaner, put some more muscle on. And a younger woman actually said, oh, honey, that's not going to happen. You're 50 now. I just sort of sat back and I said, seriously, do you know what I do for a living? And I said, and I actually said to her, please don't ever say that to another patient. That's not accurate. I did not go back to that doctor again, but just hearing things like that, being invisible in the marketplace. You see very young women or you see elderly women, and midlife women are not that represented unless it's to show a product to make us look younger. So I think it was just this feeling of being invisible, which I think it's just like invisible, not being heard, and it's taking away our power. And I feel like, okay, this has to stop. We are in an incredible time in our lives. We've been through a lot. We know what we want. We know what we don't want. And we need to be heard. And we need to be able to take care of ourselves. And we should be out there feeling empowered to be able to do that and be heard.
Yeah.
Wow, inspiring. And actually, the title of our episode today obviously is The Hidden Strength of Midlife Women, Superhumans. I've witnessed my mum go through her journey through her life as well and seeing her accomplish incredible things. I may have mentioned earlier, Biba, my mum, she has worked in the health and wellness industry for all of her life. So she was one of the reasons why I got into this industry as well. And my own experience working with different people in different ages, from children to elderly, and for men and women as well, I certainly have noticed that there is something special about working with women in the midlife zone, where their needs are not necessarily the same as most other clients that we work with. There's a lot more emotional connection that's required Do you want to maybe talk a little bit about that? Like what attracts clients to come and work with you?
Number one is frustration. They're reading so many. It starts out with, boy, I've got to lose this belly weight. I can't take this anymore. I'm reading everything out there and nothing is working. That's the initial part. But then as we start talking and we get deeper, it gets to, I don't feel like myself anymore. Like this body isn't matching who I feel like I'm on the inside. And I want to be like, I don't feel like an older woman. I feel like I want to go out hiking and biking still. And there's so many things I want to enjoy, but they're feeling beaten down. They're feeling like, well, nothing's going to work. I eat like a bird and nothing happens. I'm doing more and more cardio in my spin classes, not putting spin classes down, but this is what they're doing to try to create what they once had and just feeling defeated. I think that's the word. It's they feel defeated. They feel like they just want to give up. And so they just like, they come to me. It's like, okay, this is my last ditch effort. This is like when I always ask them, why now? Why is this important to you? They say, because I feel like it's my last chance. I'm 50, I'm 60, I'm 70. And if I'm going to do this, I've got to do this now. If I'm going to be healthy in my 80s and 90s, if I'm going to be here for my grandchildren, that they may not even have grandchildren yet, but they're looking ahead saying, if I'm going to be here for my grandchildren, if I'm going to enjoy retirement, I'm not going to be my parents and sit on the couch and, watch TV. And that's my life. I want to travel. I want to do things. I think especially the baby boomer generation has really changed that to be like, no, we're not just going to lie down and accept that we're getting older and that's it. There's so much more that we can do. And I think they're realizing that there is more that they can do. There's more that they want to do, and they want to embrace that. They want to embody it, right? Not just go and lift weights. They want to feel it inside as well. Like when people come in, they come in there, let's say, what's going on? I'm lacking confidence. I'm avoiding pictures. I'm not going to social events. Now imagine you start feeling more comfortable in your body and you're like, you put an outfit on, like, hey, I look pretty good. I think I will go to that event with my friends. And you stop hiding. You start showing up in your life so much differently. You're participating in your life. That's what it's all about.
For most women, there are some things we know we need to do. We can understand a hormone cascade and all of that, but how we get there might be different, or what she's willing to accept or do or change or afford is different. So is that how you ended up with so many certifications?
Yes, it is. It's funny that you mentioned that because it's like my certifications can actually be a picture of my journey. When I first started, there were no certifications. There were no personal trainers. That's how old I am. They didn't have any of that. When I first started, it was back with an organization called Women's World. And they had a 1-month training program that actually was quite good as I look back on it, where they, for 1 month, you worked with them full time, where they taught you nutrition, they taught you about exercise, they taught you how to lead a group, how to talk to people, how to even sales. They went through everything. And that was the foundation. I was like, it was a really good foundation. But then I'm just like, it was just a small thing. It was just women. And I really wanted to expand. I got interested in strength training and they didn't go that deep into it. So you're right. As you went, you wanted to learn a little bit more and you focus on the personal training certifications. Like, this is great. And then you realize, well, I'm not going to get weight off anybody just doing personal training. They have to have the nutrition. And then you get the nutrition. You're like, well, I can't get weight off people with just nutrition and that. I need to get into their head, right? And so, yeah, you just keep on going and going. Plus, this industry, it's so young. The science is incredibly young when you think about it. I always tell my clients, if you realize that vitamins and minerals were just discovered in the 1920s, this is a really young science, right? And it's constantly changing. And my responsibility to my clients is to stay on top of that. So I need to be getting certification. I need to be learning. Just last year? People started talking about pelvic health, and I'm just like, oh, I could do a program on pelvic health to help people with that. But I'm not just going to throw something out there. I want to be able to put my name on that. And I went and took a whole certification on the female pelvic health and health and core strength so that I could put a program together that I knew I could stand behind. There's always something else to learn out there, always.
Yeah, and the issues that women are having are so varied as well. When you were talking, I was asking myself if you have come to a similar conclusion as me, that we can be taught things all day long, with certifications and their numbers and their studies, but at the end of the day, what's so valuable is when you have worked with so many individuals, you really develop your own anecdotal data. And while maybe they can't tell me how many women have adrenal fatigue, I can tell you because I talk to them every day of my life. It's 80+%, right? And they'll say, no, 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 those numbers are ridiculous. No, no, they aren't. Go to a grocery store, spin in a circle, and every woman is sleeping with her eyes open, staring at a wall at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. If you bring it up to her, she'll begin bawling her eyes out and crying and telling you that she's so depleted and
Yeah.
she didn't ever even heard of this, right? And so the anecdotal evidence that we're building, has that helped you? Has that helped to shape you in the way that you are serving women? Do you have a lens maybe? I don't want to go as far as saying a bias, but when we work with so many, individuals coming with similar claims or problems, are you able to jump right in and go, okay, I see this all the time. Is that right?
Yes. So I think there's two parts to this. There's, yes, I see this all the time. I know how to help you. I know how to help you. I've dealt with this in hundreds of women, but also making sure that you don't have blinders onto this could also be something else. Because as we all know, symptoms could be stemming from anything. Somebody not sleeping at night could be because they are having night sweats. It could be because they had too much activity before they went to bed. It could be that their cortisol is firing at the wrong time. It could be because there's stress going on or the circadian rhythm is off. So there's so many different reasons that could be going on there. And that's why they're tired during the day. So you have to be able to look at the science. I always say it is a science and you need to follow the science, but it's also an art because every person that comes in is a different story and you need to sort of dig into that. So one thing that I love that we do in my program is like, okay, so how do I deal with this? Because I used to do one-on-one coaching. I do all group coaching now because I love the power of a group. I love that energy that comes together when we're all talking about a subject and doing Q&A. It just goes someplace deeper than one-on-one. But my thought was, okay, so how do I apply my base model, which is my philosophy of how to get somebody from point A to point B, or Z. How do I apply that in a group setting? And it's like, we need to make sure that we are looking at the individual. So when somebody comes into the program, I don't tell them what to eat. I don't tell them what to do for exercise. I don't tell them anything. For 1 week, we are just gathering information. We're getting their numbers, those things, what's your weight, your measurements, your photos. But we're also having them log their food, log down what are they doing for their movement, all of that. And at the end of that week, which we call their onboarding week, every client is assigned a coach and that coach follows them throughout the entire program. It's not a random coach each week. They have a dedicated coach that's going to look at their information and say, okay, Jane is eating this and she feels like this. These are her biofeedback markers. And this is what's been going on. This is how many diets she's been going on. And this is where we're going to start you with your macros. This is what makes sense for you. This is where we're going to start you for your exercise. So we're right from the start, we're individualizing that program for that woman. And I think that makes the big difference is not taking the science out of it, but adding the art into it. I think I answered the question. I'm not sure.
Yeah. No,
Okay.
that's brilliant. And I can imagine that the women that are coming through your program feel very, very cared for and seen,
They do.
validated. And so, but you're mentioning, it sounds like you're mentioning some type of testing. Do you use any analytics or how are you getting, you mentioned like metabolics and where is that coming from?
Well, that's coming from what they are telling us. I don't do any blood testing. That's out of my scope of practice. I don't do any of that. We are
Yes.
looking at what are they eating and how are they feeling. So you look for biofeedback markers. Are you having cravings? Are you hungry? Can you sleep at night? What's your stress levels? Are you having mood swings? Looking at things like that are showing us when they're having these types of signs and symptoms, then something's off with their hormones typically. And we need to address that. And hunger and cravings, of course, I think I've missed that one. But we'll have certain ones we ask them every single week. And for example, if somebody is losing weight, they're like, hey, this is great, I'm losing weight, but I can't sleep and I'm craving sugar all the time. It's like, then we need to change something because that's not sustainable. Right? Even though weight loss can be a little hard, maybe sometimes you're a little bit hungry, but if you're starving all the time, you're getting cravings, you can't sleep, something's off. So we want to change the macronutrients because when you balance those macronutrients, you balance the hormones. I'm not talking sex hormones. I'm talking about the hormones that are still remaining there that have a big effect on how we feel. Your ghrelin, your leptin, your HGH, all of that. So that's what we're looking at every single week, looking at those biofeedback markers. We know we've got it right when somebody is losing weight slowly, because I do not believe in fast weight loss, especially for women over 50. It's like you lose a half a pound a week. I'm saying hallelujah. I think that's fantastic. Lose a half a pound a week and you're satiated. You're sleeping at night. You have energy during the day. You're lifting weights and those weights are increasing. Golden.
So you've spoken a few times about do you call it a base model?
So base is my philosophy behind where I build my program. When I'm building my program in my head, this is not something I teach clients. I'm teaching clients different things. This is what I need to run by in my head to make sure my program has what I want it to have in order to follow my philosophy. So base is balance. It's building balance. Are their macros and nutrients balanced? Are their workouts balanced? Meaning they are working like all major muscle groups in the body. Are they building strength as well as endurance? Are they having time off and time on to work? Time for recovery? Do they have the right amount of cardio for them? Because that's going to be different. Are we balancing stress in their lives? Are they learning how to have moments to de-stress like meditation? But are they also showing up for stresses in a different way? Because I don't care who you are, stress is going to show up. It's going to show up, but that's life. Life is messy and it's going to happen. But how you show up can have a big difference, big change on how your body reacts to that stress. And then having time work off and on. The A is for adaptable. Are you ensuring adaptability within a program? Are you learning how to shift your metabolism in a way because your metabolism adapts to whatever you do. Now you need to be on top of, how am I going to shift this? What am I going to do when I start to hit a plateau? That usually happens when somebody goes too low in their calories, and we try to avoid that, but at some point your metabolism will meet up with that. How are we going to adapt to that? How are we going to adapt to your workout so that you're continually building muscle and strength? How are we going to adapt your mindset to how you're thinking and taking your limiting beliefs or roadblocks and turning those into stepping stones and successes instead of something that's going to hold you back? Or then there's sustainability is the next one. I'm on S now, right? How do we support sustainability on that? Can you live with what we're doing? Now, if you are in a reduced phase, weight loss, then no, that's not something you're going to live with. It's something you're going through to then get to a reverse where you're bringing your calories back up, or into remain, which is maintenance. But it all has to be something that is sustainable for you and something that you can live with. This is where most diets fail. Most diets are not designed to be sustainable. It's they give you a list of foods to eat and say, here, eat like this. And then somebody gives up and says, well, let me just go back to how I ate before, continuing that circle that they're on. So we want to change that. Has to be sustainable so that it can grow with you and change with you. And then last, effectiveness. You have to establish effectiveness within a program, and it has to conform to each individual's unique needs and their journey, because it's all different. I often tell people to say, well, Lisa, what do you eat? I say, you want to eat like me? It's not going to work for you. Plus, I'm vegan. Nobody wants to eat like me. I don't tell my clients to eat vegan. You eat what you have to eat. But they do have to know, in order to be effective, they have to know how to follow the science. And again, when to pivot to make a change because their body needs that change. They have to learn how to track it, analyze it, and adapt it. Because 5 years from now, 2 years from now, they're not with me. They need to know how to do this. I want to empower them so that they become their own nutritionist so that they can do it. So if they have all of that with them, they have the balance, the adaptability, the sustainability, and the effectiveness to be able to make the changes necessary as they move forward, I know they're going to be successful at losing weight. And that is built in throughout my entire program.
Wow. Sounds like a very, very well-rounded program. My question would be, can you give us like your top 2 or 3 things that you would want everybody that comes into that program? Is there something that you always share that's a standard for everybody? We've talked about how we're different and how you can't eat like Lisa, you can't eat like Kari. What is the same?
What is the same? There are a bunch of things that are the same. Like one, protein. Right? Women over 50, you need your protein. We do not have the enzymes that break our protein down into amino acids so that we can utilize all that protein. So because those enzymes are getting lower and lower, we need even more and more protein than we ever needed before. At least a gram of protein per pound of body weight, depending on what your goals are. If you're in a building phase, you might need a little bit more. And depending on your digestive system, you may need a little bit less. But it's so important that you get that protein in. That's utilized all throughout the day in every single cell in our body. So don't skimp on it. And I always tell people, think of your protein as your food that you're drip feeding all throughout the day. Just keep on getting it in. It's unlikely to be stored as body fat, but of course, anything, if you overdo it, is going to eventually get stored as body fat. But if you're at the right caloric level, you're not going to store that as body fat. So just make sure that you're getting your protein in. Water, nothing happens without water. Every single function in our body needs water. You've got to get that in. I'm thinking my head's coming up with like all these things. I don't know how many you want, but next I would say is rest and recovery. So as we are getting older and our cells are turning over slower, our metabolisms are slower, slightly slower because of menopause, but usually they're slower because our lifestyles have slowed down. We don't move as much. We're not lifting as much. We have slowed down. That's a big part of it, which is good news. We have a lot of control over that. So we get ourselves moving. We can do that, but we also have to have rest. Right? Because we're not going to build unless we have rest. Exercise is stress. We need that stress. We have to elicit enough stress in order to grow our muscles. But too much of that, and then there's too much cortisol, which actually takes muscle away. So it's got to be short, effective exercises so that you can build that muscle and then go rest. Take some time off. Make sure you get your sleep. Recover with their foods. Fuel that workout. I think all of those things are really important. And strength has to be the main focus, not cardio. Cardio can burn some calories while you're doing it. It's usually burning your glycogen stores. It's not really getting into the deep stored body fat, but you're going to do better with the strength training. So there's a few they can start with.
I love it. No, I love it. That's great. Those are absolutely universal truths. So what are the results? These women come into the program? How long is how about that? How long is the program? And is your program based on everybody starting at a same point and moving through it together as maybe a unit? Or do women just come in and join? You said it's a group setting. So what can you tell us more what that's like?
Sure. No, I did not set it up for everybody to start at the same time for a couple of reasons. One is because I hate to say no to people, and I don't want somebody calling me who is just like desperate to get started on something and saying, I'm sorry, the next program doesn't start for 4 months. I'll put you on my waiting list. That's a hard thing to hear when you're that upset about how you feel and you feel like there's no answer. So I want people to be able to come in, obviously, if there's still space. So it's rolling. They can come in at any time. And I have found that has been wonderful because not only like the coaches, there's myself and I have 2 coaches that work for me who also have the same amount of experience that I have. That was mandatory for them to come work for me, where they're helping them, but they're helping each other. So a new client may come on and say, I am so overwhelmed, because they're coming off of onboarding week and we'll say, what are your measurements? What do you take your photos? What do you weigh? What do you eat all day? Record your food. And this is all brand new to them and they're feeling a little bit overwhelmed. They've got another client who's been in the program for 4 months, 6 months, 8 months to say, hey, we've been there. It is overwhelming. because I don't give them a diet to follow. I don't give them a meal plan to follow. We give them direction, but we say, this is what you need to learn to be your own nutritionist. And trust me, it sucks right now, but you're going to learn so much that you don't have to come back to me next year to say, I don't know what to do. So that group dynamic works really well for us, doing it that way. How long the program is, my initial program is 16 weeks. That's called Metabolic Design, where we are just starting them off. Most people in that are in weight loss, which is reducing phase. Then there's the next program after that is called Metabolic Lifestyle Next Level. Now, some clients feel great. At the end of the 16 weeks, they had 5 pounds to lose, and they're doing wonderfully. They're confident to go on their own. They're always welcome to come back again. They may move on their own, but if they're going into next level, we might get into other areas of nutrition. The workouts get a little bit more complex. Every month we're showing them a new style of a workout. I may introduce things like pre-exhaust and time-based or drop sets. And so I'm always introducing something new to them. The coaching modules aren't as big as they are in the 16-week because that does the heavy lifting. So they have to get through that heavy lifting on the 16-week to get to next level. And then in next level, now it's like, okay, you can't be in weight loss forever. That's not good for anybody, even if you still have more weight loss to lose. So I say, okay, what nutrition phase are we going to have you in? Is it going to be there's the 4 R's? Is it going to be reduce, which is weight loss? I'm going to be focusing on being at a slight surplus, a slight deficit, right? I like to keep them on the edge of dieting so that we can continue that for a length time without causing too much stress. Are they going to go into a reverse diet where it's like, okay, you're just about at your goal. Now we're going to gradually start adding calories back in. So like your metabolism love that. Your hormones are going to love that. Are you at maintenance and you need to learn how to live within a certain caloric level, but not as strict, have more flexibility about what you're eating? Or maybe you're going into rebuild, where it's like, let's get you into a little bit of a surplus, which I think every woman should do this at least once a year, go into a surplus for a month, 2 months, 3 months, and just focus on building muscle and don't worry about the weight. It's an incredibly powerful time to be in. You may gain a couple of pounds or two, but as soon as you go back down to maintenance or you go into a little mini bit of a reduce, you're going to be right back where you want, but you're going to be at a higher caloric level when you do that, when you go back to that reverse.
Wow. So it sounds to me like it intermingled with this healing journey that these women are on. It sounds like you're also building a community.
Mm-hmm. Love community.
So the women come in for that original 16 weeks, and some of them fall in love with this program and all that they're learning or experiencing. And is that helping to drive them forward and keep them with you?
Yes.
Is the community aspect?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think the other part that drives them is because we've been talking a lot about fitness and nutrition with this, but there's a whole nother part of the program that I always say, like, don't ignore these parts. It's working on your limiting beliefs, making shifts in your mindset that I can't lose weight anymore. I've tried all my life and nothing works for me. I'm not worthy to get there. The all or nothing attitude of either they're on or they're off. We deal a lot with that during our group coaching calls, a lot of mindset coaching, because you need to be able to change those roadblocks. I think I mentioned earlier, you have to be able to change roadblocks into stepping stones, right? And you do that through, there's many ways that you can do that, but a couple of ways that I do is teaching them how to ask solution focused questions. Like, I can't fit my workouts in. They get upset. I can't fit workouts in. I'm busy. I work 60 hours a week. It's like, okay, well, instead of saying, how can I possibly get this done? That's not a solution focused question. And your brain's going to say, yeah, you can't. So don't even think about it. But if you ask yourself, how can I fit something in today that will be a positive movement for me? Your brain automatically wants to come up with a solution for you. So you start learning how to ask those solution focused questions so that you can move forward. And those limiting beliefs that we have of, I've tried this so many times, I can't possibly lose weight. Now that can definitely hold you back, and you will self-sabotage even without noticing it. You'll just start skipping workouts. You won't log your food. Like, things will happen when you have these limiting beliefs. But if you can make a shift in that belief, and the shift doesn't have to be, nor should it be, something big like, I can lose weight no matter what. Your brain's not going to believe that either. It has to be a baby step belief. It has to be, you know what, with a little bit of support and guidance, I can lose some weight. And I'm not going to worry about the 50 pounds. I can lose 5 pounds. That statement, when they can say, like, we'll bring that statement down smaller and smaller and smaller till they say, well, yeah, I can do that. It's like, okay, that's the one I want you to work on, because when they get that small statement, that's when they can build that confidence, right? To do the next step and then the next step. So those limiting beliefs, working on that, working on their, let's see, those limiting beliefs, their health identity is the next one I have them work on. And I say, who are you? We all identify as somebody, and it could be, I'm an overweight woman who hasn't taken care of herself. I'm busy with work and I don't have time for myself. I have all these other people I have to take care of. It's like, but who do you want to be? Well, I want to be a strong, vibrant woman who loves to travel and has time for herself and can relax and enjoy her life. And it's like, all right, there's a big gap in there. How are we going to close that gap? And we start closing that gap to get her to that woman that she wants to be, that she's decided she wants to be. But in order for any of that fitness to happen, for that nutrition to happen, she's got to change her health identity, because you can't outperform your identity. So we want our clients to work on that. And lastly, I call it, I have everybody sign a contract, and it's not anything legal binding. It's called your sacred energetic contract. And it's like, how are you going to show up here? I know you're going to do the work. That's goals. That's the what. I want the how. How are you going to show up? I'm going to show up with commitment and conviction. I'm going to show up weekly so that I can be a part of this group. And on that same contract we signed, as coaches, we're saying, we are promising to be there for you. We are going to help you through these difficult times. We are going to make sure that you're not left alone on this journey. We're going to help you work through these roadblocks, and we're going to give you guidance along the way. So it's this agreement that we're saying we're showing up for each other. It's not like somebody says, hey, I want accountability. I say, I can't force accountability onto you. And that's an agreement. There's an agreement between two different people. So we have to have this agreement signed right here about how we're both willing to show up for one another. So when you have those three things backing up the fitness and nutrition, it's amazing what can happen. But you have to have that part showing up first.
And this is the soul work in body and soul.
There you go.
Right. Body, mind, soul. Wow. Well, Lisa, this is really profound. What you've built is quite dynamic. And
Yes.
I'm curious if you're welcome, and I'll do praise and respect. I mean, I know, I know what it's like to work with these women, and they come with, there's so much, we're so heavy laden. In like modern times, it's about everything. We've got to be the super mom and be the best. And we also need to be intelligent. We have to have a college degree, but also you have to be a mom, and you got to look good in yoga pants, and you have to put on the makeup. And I mean, there's just so many, depending on where you're from and your background, there's so many layers to what's burdening us.
Yes.
And it sounds like your program is addressing so many aspects. I just think that it's really something tremendous. So
Thank you.
I would love, would you be willing to share with us? So I'm curious of, tell our audience, like, what is the result here? We did start focused on weight and making some shifts, but it sounds like there's probably going to be some much bigger results. So maybe there's one or two even stories or examples that you can share with us, then our audience, about what, tell us what happens when these women
there's
come
so
in and then
many.
they leave.
There's so many. So let's talk about, I have a couple. I have a few stories to tell you. One, Rachel, when she came to me, she had been on diet after diet after diet. And they were all like, eat this, very low carb, very low calorie, and super high exercising. Like one program she was on had her exercising 2 hours a day. For a postmenopausal woman, I'm like, oh my goodness, right? And she was very introverted, nervous about what to do next. And people come to me hesitant about, now investing in yet another program. Is this going to work? And she trusted me. She's okay. I'm going to trust this process. I'm going to go into it, because I assured her I'm never going to have anybody exercising 2 hours a day. Who's got time for it, for one? And it's not going to help you. So I taught her, again, we came in, where are you at with your metabolism? She was basically in metabolic adaptation. She's not, her body's not losing anything. Her metabolism saying, I'm not doing anything. You put so much stress on me. There's no way I'm letting go of this fat, right? Because I may need it. There's no way I'm building muscle because that's metabolically active tissue. And I'm not wasting my energy on that. I've got organs to take care of. I've got a brain to take care of. I got to keep you alive. So that's where she started out. So we gradually started adding in calories. And you have to be very careful because you can't add too many calories too quickly or somebody's going to gain body fat. And that's really going to upset somebody coming in like that because that body image is really important. So we gradually add in calories. We gradually work on those mindset, all the things we're talking about. And I'll tell you, she was so surprised at how much food she could eat by the end of that, how satiated she felt, how much weight she could lift because now she was fueling those workouts. And not only that, during the program, very, very quiet during the group calls. Towards the last month and a half she was in the program, she was speaking up more and giving advice to the other people in there. That speaks volumes to this woman's confidence as she went through the program. I was so joyed that she got that level of confidence on the program. And I've spoken to her since, like a year after. I think it was about 18 months after the program, I've spoken to her and I was like, how are you doing? And she said, great. I've got all the tools, Lisa. You taught me what I need because I won't give a diet. People don't like that about me sometimes. I won't give a diet. I give tools. So she was very, very confident with that.
And it sounds like the tools that you're giving, again, they're so varied and dynamic and tailored. The phrase that keeps coming to me as you're speaking is know thyself.
Yes, that's very good, Kari.
Yeah.
I like that. Know thyself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so can you tell us, do women need to be in Massachusetts to work with you or to join this program? Or is this,
No.
it sounds like you do calls. So how can they connect with you and get involved with your program and maybe speak to the type of woman? What would you say is the type of woman that would benefit most from this program?
Great questions. First, they can get a hold of me through my website, bodyandsoulcoaching.com. That's where most of my clients come from. I am on social media as well at Lisa Swanson Coach on Instagram and and Swanson Coach on Facebook as well. That's where I'm most active at the moment. My best clients or the clients who do well, honestly, are the clients who are ready to make a commitment to themselves. They're ready to make a commitment to themselves. They are ready to communicate with me. I tell people I can't help you if you won't communicate. So they got to be ready for commitment, communication, and consistency. For any program, you need to have those 3 C's, not even just mine. For any program, you need to have it. But with those 3, you're going to do phenomenal. You'll do phenomenal. You just have to be willing to show up and be yourself and follow the program. What I hear a lot of my most successful clients say is, I just trusted the process. Because it's hard. It's hard to come in to somebody and you're trying to lose weight and we say, we need you to eat more. And they back up and say, I don't think so. Yes, you do. And they say, okay, I'm going to trust the process. I'm just going to trust the process. And they do well. And they communicate with us.
Wow. Even that, the trusting the process, it's almost a catchphrase now. We use that often. And I find that so many people don't even really know what that means. And only when we go through a process where everybody is just telling us every step of the way, just trust, please just stay with me. And they kind of even embark on a journey of even learning what trust the process means. You know, there's just so much personal transformation that takes place when we go on a journey like this. And it sounds like earlier you had mentioned, so we've just talked about what an ideal client, they've got the 3 C's. You've got base, you've got the 3 C's. I know you named something else. We went through some other letters. So you sound like you have a package here of, you've been very analytical.
And,
yeah, you've really put it together in a way that makes sense. And you've described those clients as needing the 3 C's. Are there women that this program really isn't right for?
Yes. Yes. Okay. And you don't ever want to put it that I don't want to work with you, but you have to be able to be discerning because number one, I always tell people, do not sign up for my program unless you're confident that this is right for you, because I don't want I don't want to waste somebody's time. I don't waste somebody's money. It's not going to do anybody any good. So anybody coming to the program, if they're coming in right off the bat questioning, like people say, well, I want to do your program, but I'm going to do my own workouts. I want to do your program, but I'm going to do intermittent fast. They're already making their own rules coming in. It's like, okay, you're not ready to trust this process. This is not the program for you. So there's that. That's one thing. I had like one woman, like she was just fighting me every the way because I'll have a consultation. I offer everybody a free consultation. So we have at least 45 minutes to talk and get to know each other and make sure it's a right fit. And I know which coach to put them with. But during that conversation, as you guys know, you've been in this world, you know that when you're talking to somebody, you can get a sense. Like this one woman, she was just fighting me every step of the way, like saying, well, I could just read a book and get this information. I said, okay, then go read a book. If that's where you're at right now, read a book. She definitely would not, she would have fought me on every part of the way or told me, well, I read this article, I read that article. Also, if somebody has an underlying issue or an eating disorder, I'm not a therapist. I'm not equipped to deal with somebody with an eating disorder who has an alcoholic problem that's going to come into it. So there are some situations where, no, I'm not equipped to deal with that. I've worked with people who have diabetes and they're also seeing a doctor for that because I know how to help somebody to eat for a diabetic diet. That's something different. But something where they have an eating disorder or something that's really emotional that goes much deeper than what I can do, that person needs a therapist. I am not doing them a justice by taking somebody on like that. How do I know what I might be triggering by having them log their food? You know?
Right. So
Right.
would you say that if the individual had done some of the work to overcome these things, they've gotten themselves in a position where they are sick and tired of being sick and tired and they're ready to not be the expert and to trust you finally as the expert, or they're working with a doctor and they've shifted some things inside, then would you say now this woman becomes highly qualified to be a part of this program and
Yes.
enjoy the same benefits as everyone else?
Yes, I have had women in the program who have had an eating disorder and they say, no, it's no problem. And I ask, are you working with a therapist on that? And they say, yes. Is your therapist comfortable? And are you comfortable with doing this? Because you have to log your food and just ask those questions. And if those answers are all yes, 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 then sure, they can come into the program. I just want to make sure I'm setting them up for the right person, or maybe they're in the wrong stage of life. I had a woman who was coming in and she was just starting perimenopause. Now, perimenopause is very different than postmenopause. And I really focus on the postmenopausal woman. And this woman, she would have been a great client. I know she would have. But what she needed was something that I know, another coach I know who works mainly with perimenopausal women. I'm like, she could do so much for her than I could. And I, said, here's the name of another coach. Go talk with her. And she is working with her now. So it's important to know what our scope of practice is.
I have a question.
Sure.
You threw out the phrase diets don't work. It is something that we often hear, and even many health professionals, we throw this phrase out there, and people that are listening, they usually say, oh yeah, I've tried this diet and that diet, it has or has not worked. But they always think to themselves, I've got nothing to lose. I'll just try it. If it doesn't work, no harm done. However, what psychological and physical damaged people present to you who have been through the journey of trying every diet in the world and now they're broken because of that?
Yes, there are psychological and physiological things that are happening. So psychologically, they've beaten themselves down. They are a failure. I failed the diet. Not I failed the diet. I am a failure. And it's actually the diet that failed them. I wish I would want every woman to know you did not fail the diet. The diet failed you. Because they'll do that and then they go back to that diet again thinking, well, I must have done something wrong. Let me go back and try it again. I failed again. If I just had enough willpower, if I just had enough motivation to do this, I could make it happen. Let me try it again. And they white knuckle it through this. And you don't have to do that. The diet is failing them. So psychologically, they've just broken down, right? Their confidence is just so that happens for sure. But physiologically, when you keep on going on these diets, what's happening to your metabolism and your hormones during this time and your muscle? If you keep going super low calorie, and I'm assuming this is what that would be because most diets do. If you're doing that, you've lost more muscle. Every time you gain weight back after it, you're gaining fat. You're not gaining muscle back by going off the diet. You're gaining back fat. So your body composition is going higher and higher. Metabolism is slowing down more and more, or slowing down isn't the right word for it. It's getting more adaptive. So it's not allowing you to effectively use the energies that you put into it, your carbohydrates, your fats. So you eat, the people say, well, I lost weight. Now that I was on that diet, I have one small carb serving and boom, I blow up. It's like, because your body doesn't even know what to do with that carb anymore. We need to get you used. We need to get your metabolism flexible so that it can handle these different types of energy sources, your carbs, your fats. So I think that's what it's doing to them, physically and
Yeah.
emotionally.
Yeah, and you only need to follow the money trail to pharmaceutical companies to see what's happening now. GLPs is like the latest thing. Do you want to talk about some of the potential problems with that and send out a warning to people when they're thinking, Serena Williams is using it?
Mm.
What are some of the potential challenges and red flags to look out for?
Well, with GLP-1s, first off, people aren't hungry. And that's not the problem. It's not that people need to eat less. They need to eat more of the right foods and fuel their workouts, fuel their body, fuel their metabolism, fuel their hormones. It's not eat less. It's eat more of the right foods in a way that's right for you, which sounds incredibly, nebulous out here, but it's really what you have to do. Also, a lot of people lose muscle on GLP-1s. They lose a bunch of water. They lose a lot of muscle. It's just not healthy. I've never believed that. Out of all the medicines that have come out over the years, take us all the way back to the 80s, was it, when fen was popular? Everybody was doing it. It was wonderful. And then there's GI issues happening and all kinds of things going on. And they finally take it off the market, and saying, oh yeah, guess what? It doesn't work. And they'll be doing that with GLP-1, I'm sure. I don't quote me on this, or actually you don't have to quote me on my show, but I have heard that GLP-1, or the makers of GLP-1, are now being sued for digestive issues. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I just heard this, and I don't know if this is true. I've not researched it, but even for eyesight issues, that people are having blindness happen. So you just never know how these drugs are going to touch you.
Yeah. Well, no doubt GLP-2 will be the next thing on the market, and it'll solve all the problems that GLP-1 caused.
Exactly.
Mm.
And Lisa, just one more thing on the diet. I heard a really great phrase from a nutrition doctor that we had on the show a couple of weeks ago. He said, "Don't eat to lose weight. Just eat to improve your health." If you just keep that in your mind, then when you go to the supermarket and you're making those food choices, just don't ever say to yourself, "Is this going to help me lose weight?" Just ask yourself, is this going to help me improve my health? Is it a positive thing towards my health? And when you actually look at the diet or the food that's consumed from a super healthy person in a day, oh my goodness, it's a lot. But it's all high fiber, the vegetables and the healthy foods, and it's absolutely going to satisfy you and you're never going to feel hungry. At the same time, it's adding all of the good nutrition, the vitamins, minerals, and the macro and micronutrients into your body that are going to improve your immune system, improve your health. And that in turn is also going to prevent you from getting sick and having time off and all of those things that happen when you try to eat less. Every time in my life where I have not been able to eat enough food, whether it's because you're busy or traveling or between countries or whatever, and you go for 1 or 2 days where you have not got enough nutrition, oh my God, your immune system is terrible. Right? It's so easy to pick up a flu or to get something after you've been through a period like that. So people should pay attention to that. Oh, why do I always get sick after I come back from a holiday? It's probably because you've gone for 24 or 48 hours without good nutrition or without having regular meals. And so your immune system is compromised, and then whatever is thrown at you, oh my God, you're going to suffer. One of the worst experiences of my life, it was about 2018. kind of set myself a challenge. I visited 20 cities in 20 days, and it was in about 6 different countries. I was doing it for work, and I was looking at the itinerary, and I thought, you know what, I'm gonna publicize this and post it online, and I'm gonna let everyone know I'm doing this challenge, 20 cities in 20 days. And I did it. And I got back to Australia, and for the next 3 weeks, I was sick as a dog. Like, it took me so long to recover from that. So 20 cities in 20 days, and then 20 days to recover.
Yeah, I bet. That's exhausting. Oh my goodness. I know, and I will talk to clients about that too. It's not just like, because we set their macros, like these are the grams of protein, carbs, and fats that you need to have. But then if they're eating, it's like, what are you eating to make those up? If they're eating processed foods, or like there was not just one woman, a number of women, they'll be eating it, and I'll be going over the nutrition. I'm like, where were the vegetables? Like, because they're saying, well, I should be losing weight. Why not? And we don't just magically change somebody's macronutrients. Oh, you didn't lose weight this week? Then quick, let's change it, because it takes a couple of weeks for your metabolism to change. But I'm looking, I'm going, you don't have any vegetables in here. It's like, you can hit your macros, but if you've got no vegetables, those micronutrients, right? Those vitamins and minerals and polyphenols and anti-inflammatories, all of those things happening to help you utilize your macronutrients, you're not going to get anywhere. Like, you've got to get those vegetables in, right? And staying healthy while you travel, that's a huge one. We always send our clients out with making sure that they know what they're going to do when they're traveling. Like, where are you going to be? What's the food that's around you? What can you do that's easy? They always have big discussions on that before that they go away. Like, a lot of my clients come back feeling stronger, either maintaining their weight or have lost weight without depriving themselves while they're away, because they now know how to eat for their metabolism. They're like, hey, I was away in France. Yeah, I had all the crepes. I ate at all the baguettes. I did what I enjoyed the culture, and I'm down. They're like, how is that? And I said, well, one, you were walking all day. Your stress levels weren't up here because you're at work. Your stress levels came way down.
Yeah.
So,
Good.
a lot to be said for that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I do have.
And the opposite for those 20 days for you, Ed.
Yeah.
20 cities in 20 days is very stressful. And
Very stressful.
putting your cortisol up through the roof, and the cortisol precursor to sickness, crash the immune system, all the things. So
Yeah.
it makes perfect sense. I think me and Lisa just diagnosed what happened there.
Yeah. And that was extreme. Like, that was from Australia to China to USA to Italy in Europe to Croatia, back to China, back to
Wow.
Australia, and all the cities in between. And it was really, really 20 cities in 20 days. When I look back at the photos and videos of that journey, I can progressively see myself looking more and more like shit.
No.
On the first few days, the skin was good and a little bit plump in the face, and lots of energy. But by the last few days, oh my goodness, I look like Skeletor. Like, it was not good.
Oh, no.
Lisa, I have another question. It is about menopause, and you mentioned perimenopause before. Something that I kind of was exposed to and learnt a little bit about just by accident when I had been working with clients before was, I used to think that menopause was like a linear journey. So you're going through, okay, menopause starts, and I'm going to go through the first part of it and the second part of it, and then I'm going to come out the other side. But what I discovered was that menopause is like, at first, dipping your toe in the water, and you get a little bit of an experience of it, maybe for a couple of weeks, and then it backs off again. And then a few weeks later, or even a couple months later, okay, another experience of something happening, and then it backs off again. Like, it's actually progressing in waves. And that was something that I couldn't quite understand. Like, 'cause I was working with some clients, and sometimes I was showing up and fully energetic and positive and happy, and other times I was showing up and feeling really sad and depressed and really suffering. But then the next few weeks, they're back up again. And I thought, what's going on? And can you just talk a little bit about that? Like, that journey of menopause, what does that look like? And for other professionals out there that work with ladies that are going through this period of their life, what can they expect, and what do they need to do to be able to manage this?
Well, so that's perimenopause, where things are going up and down. So in perimenopause, you're still getting your menstrual cycle. And during that menstrual cycle, you have your luteal phase and what's the other one?
We have our luteal. We're going to have PMS. We're going to have our ovulation. No, that's luteal. Girl, I don't know. It's
I know.
early. We've been
I
established.
can't
It's
remember,
early.
but
It's early.
your estrogen is going up and down, and it does do that, right? Estrogen builds. You have ovulation, then it comes back down, or the progesterone. I'm probably saying it backwards because it's been so long since I've worked with perimenopause women. But during perimenopause, your hormones are kind of all over the place, and it can be really low one month and high another month, and your testosterone, estrogen, and progesterone are kind of going all over the place. And that's why it's very difficult to read and know what to do. And working with somebody who deals specifically with perimenopause, it can be very helpful because of all those changes. Somebody who knows how to dial into your cycle. But in perimenopause, your cycle, you may not have it for a couple of months and then you have it again. So that's when your symptoms are coming and going and you're not quite sure what the heck is going on. And then you reach a point, what they say, once you have not had your period for 12 months, you are now considered that this is menopause. Menopause is a moment in time. It's not like you're in menopause for an extended period of time. It's a moment in time. You haven't had your period for 12 months. You're in menopause. Next day, postmenopause. So postmenopause, all those sex hormones, testosterone, estrogen, progesterone, have now come down to their base level and they're just going to stay there. So when you're in postmenopause, usually, I don't say usually, studies have shown that usually symptoms will last for maybe another 5, even 10 years with hot flashes and being tired and aches and pains and things like that. Unless you're taking care of yourself, you can sort of mitigate some of these if you know like what's happening and you're willing to track, analyze, and adapt to what's happening in your body. Example, one client was having a horrible time sleeping. It turned out when she went to a certain level of carbohydrates, her hot flashes started again. Her night sweats started again at night. As soon as we dropped below that, night sweats went away. I had no idea, but for her, that's what worked. This is what I mean about listen to the science, but then what's the art of that person? So those symptoms can go on for quite a while in menopause, and it's just very different for each person. You just have to continue to listen to your body, track, analyze, adapt over and over again to find out what is right for you. And when you have professionals like Kari or myself helping you with something like that, then you're going to know what to track and what to look for to try to mitigate those symptoms.
Well, I think Chuck and I are learning a lot of valuable information here. And for other gentlemen that are watching the show as well, there's some golden nuggets here. And I really hope that men pay attention to this because the ladies in our life are the most important people for us to take care of and aim to understand.
Yes.
So let's talk about the families of people that you work with. What advice do you normally give to the close people around the ladies that you work with? Like, what can they do to support the journey?
Well, I think now it's easier to talk to people about it. I would say 30 years ago, it wasn't. 20 years ago, it wasn't. 10 years ago, it got easier. I think. No, I'm lucky I'm in a family. We're very open. We're very connected. We're very close. My husband also, he was a phys ed teacher, and then he actually left there to work with me in my businesses and got himself certified as a trainer and nutritionist. So he has a lot more understanding. Although still, everybody has their food language. His food language is definitely food. And he will tend to be like, bring something home that I'm just like, say I'm working on a reduce phase, and he will bring home something that like, I love and I don't want to resist. What did you bring that home for? What are you doing? He said, but you love these. I wanted to like make you happy. And it's like, I can make myself happy. Don't bring that food into the house. So I think just learning how to respect what your woman needs and does not need. She doesn't need coddling. She just needs understanding and support. Like a woman, and I thought they worked together great. She and her husband love to cook. And he's like, oh my God, I make diet foods. It's like, no, we don't make diet foods. You love to cook, experiment, be creative and look at the foods that you love. How can you make it healthier? And they had a really good time cooking together and coming up with ways to make their foods healthier. So there's all different ways that you can do things like that, or just respecting space. Like, I don't know about you, Kari, but like for me, I don't know where you are in your journey, but I'm definitely
Perimenopause, sister.
Okay, so you're up and down. I know even in postmenopause, I need my space. I need my time alone. I need my quiet. I need my stillness. Like, not like go for a walk and listen to a podcast, which I love to do, but I also need that time to just go into my yard. I have a beautiful yard, to just go up there with a cup of tea and just have no sound, no people, and just be quiet. And people in my family know, it's like, well, mom's sitting out in the yard by herself. Let's leave her be. We're just gonna let her stay up there for a while. And when she's ready to come in, she will. And it's nothing that I'm sad or anything like that. It's just like, just give me my peace. So knowing yourself, and then being able to communicate with your spouse, because I mean, that's what relationships are all about, right? Communication and that delicate art of compromise that you need to have. And you'll be fine.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
And Chuck, you've probably got a bunch of questions.
I did. And my favorite one that I put a heart next to, what can we do as men, husbands, sons, right? So I'm sure that at least if there's any listeners that are in my age, their mothers are going through this. So can sons play a big role in supporting them? Because I think the problem that I have as a male is I'm solution oriented. So I'm very quick to not listen, but give tips. And I know they don't want that, but I just can't shut up sometimes. So help me not do that.
Okay, that is a really good one. And Chuck, I am like you. When my daughters come to me with a problem or they want to discuss something, they've had a bad day, they will, because I want to solve everybody's problems. They come to me and the first thing they say is, Mom, do not try to solve this. I just want to talk to you. So they preface every single conversation with that. And it's like, okay, I heard you. I heard you. So maybe just doing that and listening to them, and instead of giving answers, because we know a lot of times people don't really listen to our advice, but if it comes from them, they're going to listen. So asking more like, wow, well, how do you feel about that? Almost become like a therapist, Chuck. How do you feel about that? Like, what do you think you could do to make yourself feel better about that? I don't know what the circumstances are, but you're sort of asking them questions to, like, well, ask yourself how you feel about it. Have you tried journaling? Like, just suggestions of ways that they can find the answer for themselves. And if you did have a suggestion, this is what a friend of mine taught me: ask permission first, to say, well, I have an idea. Is it okay with you if I share that today? And if they're like, I'm really not ready to listen to that, just say, all right, let me know when you are, because I got a couple of ideas that you might be interested in. And even that lowers that barrier that they might have up. And then they might be like, oh, well, what is it? Maybe I do want to hear about that. And just wait for the time when they're just like, okay, I'm ready to hear that.
Just share this podcast with them and I don't have to do anything.
There you go. Although speaking for yourself might be a good idea too.
Yeah, exactly. Do you find, and this may be coming from someone personal in my life, so I hope that, and I imagine that this is probably very common. You kind of alluded to it a little bit earlier about your husband having food as a love language. How many clients do you have who are like your husband and they bring their husbands or spouses home some food that they won't eat themselves, but they're bringing it home because they know their spouse loves it? And I'm speaking of like really unhealthy stuff, donuts and cookies and the stuff that when you eat it, you're like, oh, this is great. And then afterwards, most people are like, oh man, why did I do that? Right. So,
Right.
And that same person probably likes to cook a lot and takes care of the household, and they've got that role and they've loved that. And that's who they are. But how many times have you identified that that's also causing their metabolism issues? And how do you work with that so that they can find that they're never going to change that love language? So how do you help them move into, I guess it has to start with them maybe, like what are they putting in their bodies?
Right.
Because it's in the situation that I'm talking about, and I can imagine I need to probably broaden this. It's also affecting the health of the other person, because then they can't see to what's in front of them, and now it's just a double-edged sword. I love you, but we're gonna shorten our lifespan because we keep loving each other too much.
Yeah, exactly. That is a hard one, because you can never, especially in a family member, you can't force them to eat healthier. You can be an example. You can make suggestions. You can say, I care about you and I want you around for a long time, and that's why I want us to eat healthier. Are you on board? Hopefully they are. Or even just saying, hey, can we have one night a week where we don't have this type of food, and just sort of gradually ease it in? That could be it. Unfortunately, a lot of times things like this change because of illness came up that scared them. And then they're like, oh man, I better take care of myself. This was frightening. But I had one client and her husband just would not listen. He loved snacks. I mean, terrible snacks, terrible snacks. I'm talking like the packaged, like ring dings. Anybody remember those? Like ring dings and a lot of Yahoos. I don't know what the heck they're called. But
Twinkies.
yes, all of that crap. And he actually had a table in their kitchen that was covered with this all the time. And I'm like, can't he put it away? And she goes, no, he likes to be able to see it. So I don't know what was going on in his head. He was not my client, but for him, it might have been a deprivation that he had when he was younger. He wanted to see them all right out and know that they were there for him. So anybody walking by could just grab a snack whenever they wanted. Now here's this woman trying her best, but she's got these snacks staring at her and she's working from home and there they are right there. That's a hard thing to say no to all the time. So he wasn't willing to put them away, which, that's another story, what that can do to a relationship. But I finally said, all right, take a big tablecloth and cover all of it. Just cover it. And if he wants to take the tablecloth off to find something, he can do that. That ended up being the solution. They just covered it with the tablecloth because he could not get away from that part.
That's still willpower on
So
her behalf because she knows it's still there,
I
subconscious.
know, but when you don't see it, it's like, put the blinders on. If you don't see it, at least it makes it one step away from. And on the other side of that, what is healthy and make it as easy as possible for you to get that. Have, carrots and hummus ready to go. Have apples cut up. Have whatever you have, get that prepped and ready to go. So as soon as you have that, it's just a matter of literally turning in the other direction and going for the healthier food and making sure you get that in. Or if, and this is a big if, somebody does like that food and they can share that with their husband for some reason, husband, like, oh, you won't sit and have this with me? I don't know. Or you're not going to have pizza night with me? Like, if you can do that without it triggering you, that's the key. Because, like I say, one night out of eating is not going to make you gain weight, just like having one healthy meal is not going to make you lose weight. So if you can have one unhealthy meal that doesn't trigger you going down the road of making your entire weekend being unhealthy, then go ahead and do that. But if it's triggering, know your triggers, know yourself. Who said that? Know thyself. Kari said that earlier. You have to know yourself. If that's going to trigger you, you got to get it out of there. And you need a heart to heart with your spouse to make sure that they're listening to you, and hopefully they're going to listen.
I get the sense that with some of the women in my life, some of the women that I've talked to, when the topic comes up, that they don't really subscribe to the scientific notion that weight training helps with fat burning more than cardio. Can you help with that argument?
Sure. Yes. It makes an incredible difference. So you got to remember, so cardio, especially for most postmenopausal women, it's creating stress on your body, especially that long duration cardio. Stress. Cortisol's coming up. Remember, a little bit of cortisol, okay. A lot of cortisol burns your muscle and stores body fat. So it's not getting rid of that fat. You may be using up some glycogen stores that are then going to be refilled as soon as you eat again. When you strength train correctly, and by correctly, I mean you are working out in a way that elicits change in the muscle. You're working out with a heavy enough weight that you get to muscle failure, or even muscle fatigue will help. But I like muscle failure. And you're working out like not an hour and a half of strength training. 30 minutes of strength training is perfectly fine, right? But while you're doing it, it's intense. Now you have exercise post-oxygen consumption, EPOC. So after that strength training, your body has a payback, right? It's going to replace that oxygen that has a payback, and your metabolism is elevated. Your metabolism is elevated for about 24 hours after a good strength training workout. That is burning more calories. It's also putting more muscle on your body. More muscle on your body means higher metabolism, because that muscle is metabolically active tissue. Fat is stored energy. Okay, it doesn't take up, I think it does take up a little bit of energy, but maybe like, it's minimal. But those muscles, even when you are sleeping, you're burning more calories. So, and as you're doing that, you're changing your body composition. So your muscles coming up and your fat's coming down. That changes everything. So one woman I was working with, she came into the program with, I think she was eating about 1,000 calories a day. She was not very tall. She was a very petite woman. She needed to lose about 20. And in the beginning, she was losing weight because we immediately started her with reverse dieting. She had to go into reverse, not right into reduce. And the reverse was making her reduce because as we added calories, her body was like, oh, you're going to feed me. I'll let go of some weight. You're going to feed me more. I'll let go of more. We were adding 100 calories nearly every single week. Not every single week, but nearly throughout this program. And as she was doing that, she was losing weight. But I was watching her and I'm going, okay, she's kind of becoming a smaller version of what she is. She wasn't lifting heavy enough. And then we started really pushing, and she wasn't ready for the heavy yet. Right. In the first phase, she had to really get her ligaments and tendons and joints and all of that ready to be able to lift heavier. And then she started lifting heavier. And wow, the changes in her photos were incredible. So by the end of the 16 weeks, and I remember asking her, I said, there's a dramatic change in your photos now. We do photos every 4 weeks. What do you think got this big change? And she goes, well, I finally started lifting heavy like we've been talking. That was the big change. It's not just the scale, it's the inches that we were talking about. And that comes from strength training. So she ended up at the end of the 16 weeks, she was down 26 pounds and 26 inches.
Wow.
It was a lot of inches. She just completely transformed. And being a little person, she's only like 5'1", it really showed. I mean, there was just like flat stomach. She was actually starting to get a 6-pack and she had a lot of belly fat on her, very soft looking. You never would have thought that she would have gotten as lean and as tight in such a quick time.
Which is crazy because you would think that most assumptions for anyone trained or untrained would think less calories and more cardio. And she did the exact opposite,
Right.
and she got her results that she wanted. Now, if we have any listeners, which we have thousands and millions of listeners around the world that are not of the age group, women that would be targeted to come after you and ask for your help and work with you, what advice do you have for them to maybe, I wouldn't say to prevent menopause because we can't prevent it, but to delay it or to transition into it in a better, more productive way, healthier way?
Yeah.
Maybe they're 30, maybe they're 40. There's things that they can do 30, 40, I'd assume will allow them to have a better experience during menopause. What advice do you have for them?
Right. Well, you can't delay it. It's coming. You're not going to delay it. But I would say what you can do, go into it with as much muscle on your body as you can,
Okay.
right? We're naturally losing that muscle and it takes a lot longer to build it. The older that you get, you want your bones to be strong. And what better way to build your bones really strong is to lift heavy. Get that protein in, lift heavy, lift heavy, lift heavy. And just go into it. I would say with as much muscle as you can.
Yeah, and actually
There
that
you
was
go.
something that Dr. Cooper just mentioned on our previous episode. He said the ratio of cardio to strength changes as you go through life. When you're younger, it's very easy to maintain muscle and to gain muscle. So the ratio, I believe, was about 70-30, so about 70% cardiovascular to keep your heart strong and build a strong heart, and about 30% strength training. And then by the time you get to your 70s, 80s, it's the other way around, 70% strength training and about 30% cardio, because the muscle is your really real key to longevity. And as you said, to overcome and to minimize and mitigate some of the uncomfortable or some of the experiences that people have when they're going through different life changes, not only ladies, but men as well.
Yes, absolutely. Now, and I can't cite the study, but I was just reading somewhere that there was a direct correlation between leg strength and your cognitive abilities. So it's all tied together.
Wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah.
Kari, the gentlemen have had our say. Back over to you.
Well, Chuck was asking, about the cardio, about the strength training. When this is kind of coming from a program that you're running that you don't even realize you're running, that everybody has heard this. We have to be doing cardio, or you have to be running, or you have to be on an elliptical, except for that's not laying down bone.
Right.
And we, especially for women, but all Americans we're in a crisis of our bones look like a sponge with holes in it. You wouldn't even allow what's happening in your body to happen to your swimming pool. You take your swimming pool water every week, you get it tested. If you have Marsite swimming pool like me, they're going to tell you to put calcium and things because you have to plug the holes. And we've learned that you cannot just take calcium or eat calcium and plug the holes in your bones. You actually have to put stress on the bones the same way you have to put on muscle. And most people haven't made it all the way through that logic. We've known for a long time that when you lift weights, you're making micro tears in the muscle. Then actually, it's not about the weightlifting. Truly, it's about the recovery
Yes.
phase. And now
Yes.
our body recovers. It's going to lay down new muscle. It's exactly the same with bones. If you stress your bones, your body will lay down new bone, and that's our way out of osteopenia and osteoporosis.
Yes.
I don't know, Lisa, maybe you even have a concept of the numbers, but this is a vast, wide problem in America, women that are aging with osteopenia and osteoporosis, right?
Yes, absolutely is. I have osteoporosis, I think. Now, I was tested through a DEXA scan. I'm very small. I'm only 5. I'm very petite, small bones. And they have found that DEXA scans aren't as accurate on women who are petite. I don't believe in the medicines that they have. I am not telling anybody out there to not listen to their doctor. Listen to your doctor. I don't know your situation, and you need to make your own decisions. Just the research that I have done, I'm not willing to take those. I would rather work on my nutrition, work on my strength training to make sure my bones stay strong. But it's imperative that we do that. You're right. You do that through strength training. And it's not by taking calcium supplements. They're finding out now the calcium supplements aren't going to our bones. They're going into our arteries, and they're clogging our arteries. It's like, stop taking calcium supplements. And I'm sure they'll come up with even more research. There's a new, actually, a brand new testing machine that they have. I think it's called Ecolite, to test bone density. That's supposed to be much more accurate than DEXA. They finally have one here near my house, which I'm going to actually go get tested over there. A lot of people have used those machines and found out, well, you actually don't have osteoporosis. So, or they find out, yes, you do. And you have to decide what you're going to do in order to work on that. And that is a personal decision. I researched it for a while, and there are so many different opinions all over the place. It can be incredibly overwhelming, but try to read some research papers on it, not just articles in a magazine. That's not going to give you the best answers. Look for some research articles. But yeah, we've got to take care of ourselves. Got to stay strong.
It's a really good point that Kari brought up as well, that strength training is not only about muscle, but stressing the bones. Every time a muscle contracts, it's pulling on the bone, creating that stress, and that stress then invites the calcium and invites the bone to become stronger. I live in China. 80% of Chinese ladies, 80% of Chinese ladies over 60 years old have osteopenia or osteoporosis.
Oof.
And it's all happened in the last 30 years. The reason is 30 years before, they were living on farms in the villages, they were doing manual labor. And now fast forward, people are city dwellers. The Chinese woman beauty standard is no muscle, thin legs, thin arms, and nothing physical, and white skin. The reason for that is because they don't want to look like a villager. The perceived beauty, the perceived beautiful Chinese woman is very, very white and very, very thin. So a lot of ladies are trying to achieve that, which means they get into their 40s, 50s, 60s. They don't do exercise. They don't have any muscle tone. And the bones, as we know, start to get to osteopenia and osteoporosis. Strength training is the longevity best. What was the guy, the doctor we spoke to a few days ago? The best bang for your buck. Exercise and strength training for longevity.
Well, and I think that we also, if we follow that logic all the way through, like we're talking about strength training, and there are plenty of people that may have blocks in their mind or physical things that have happened that are going to make it difficult for them to lift weights or whatever it is. But lifting weights isn't all the strength training that there is. For me, a big one, I like really hard hitting yoga, and it's going to pull every muscle in the body on every bone. That is its design. If we're doing it properly, you're pounding your body, and so you're going to be stressing the bones and the muscles that way. But if you mentioned the villages, and I always love when you bring up China and how it is. I have a good friend that has spent some time in the jungle, and the real teaching that they learned from their time in the jungle, they say it all the time: chop wood, carry water. And that's what's happened. That's what was happening in the villages, and is still happening in the villages and the jungles, and what's been removed from us. So we didn't have women or necessarily men lifting weights. I mean, we had gladiators entertaining us that were doing that, but we were physical because we were chopping wood, carrying water. Everything was manual labor. So if there's a block in your mind or in your physical body that, lifting weights isn't exactly right for you, there are other ways to put this stress, to carry heavy things, to, you can put a bungee and a piece of wood on a fence, and you can, work it. There's actually a lot of ways that we can do this. So we don't have to just put it in a box. But yes, a very easy way is to get some dumbbells, to get some kettlebells and those kind of things. And we can mix it up and we can stay creative. But what we want to do is stay physical. Our human design is to use this physical vessel. It is not to sit around and watch television, like Lisa said earlier. We need to use this vessel. So go find hard ways to use your body, and everything in your entire life goes up from there.
Well said.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
It's no mistake by human biology design that when we move our body and do exercise, we release happy hormones that make us feel good, and all the other endorphins and benefits as well. So it's probably the most addictive thing that you can do that's positive for your body. When someone begins that journey to go to the gym for the first time, or do their first yoga class, or do some exercise, they always feel fantastic afterwards. And they're on that high, and then they make better decisions when they go to the supermarket or they decide what they're going to eat for the day. They're generally making better decisions because they've got that hormonal inspiration, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what you found, Lisa?
Well, sure. I think in the beginning, it doesn't feel so good going to the gym. It doesn't feel so good because they're not quite sure what to do. They're uncomfortable. They feel self-conscious, but you will get past that. Like if you want to get into a comfort zone with that, you've got to step out of your comfort zone to find a new one. So just go there, because I guarantee you in a couple of weeks, it is going to start feeling better, but it doesn't feel good in the very beginning. I had this one client, she was hilarious. She was 67, 68. And she came to me wanting to lose weight. She had struggled with weight her entire life, doing the group type exercises where they hold the 3-pound hand weights. Maybe she would do that, and she would walk and try to eat well, but a weight problem her whole life. And I told her that she had to have her strength training in. She said, I hate strength training. I said, well, you're going to have to learn to love it, because this is non-negotiable. And she started doing it, and she had a trip to go on with her friends. And she goes, I don't want to be the one that's in the background. Everybody's trying to, they're waiting for me. So I said, all right, well, let's just get on that strength training. You got to do it. So she didn't like it. And I wish I could say at the end of this that she ended up loving strength training, but she didn't. She never ended up loving strength training, but she loved what it did for her body, because she went on that trip with her friends. She was not the last one in line. She had all kinds of energy. She could climb up and down. It was like this hiking trip they were going on. And she lived in Ireland. So I think you had asked, do I see people from other places? Yes, all over the world.
Awesome.
She lived in Ireland, and they just had a fabulous time. I had the energy and the strength and stamina to do what I needed to do for that trip. And she goes, I will never stop strength training now. I don't like it, but I need it, and I'm not going to stop.
Yeah. And it is important for programming, and any program that you design for your health or for your life, it should be something that you're able to sustain for the rest of your life. Don't start any program that is putting unrealistic expectations on your time or your energy or your finance or whatever. Start small. It only takes a small percentage of improvement each time you go, and it will become easier and easier. So when your body is stronger, it's easier to walk up the steps. It's easier to carry those bags. It's easier to go for a run. Likewise, when you improving your cardiovascular fitness, you recover faster from exercise as well, and you have more energy and you sleep better. Like the benefits cannot absolutely be argued. We're going to have to kind of wrap up here, so I just want to throw over to Chuck your golden nuggets for today.
I think all the golden nuggets, there's just too many here to really list. I more had questions, which you answered perfectly. I would say my biggest takeaway is the weight training we've just been rapping about for the last 20 minutes here. It's not that I didn't know it before. I knew it before, but now I can actually speak intellectual about it when I am helping someone, but I will ask for their permission before I give them advice.
There you go.
You are ready or open to any advice from Chucky? And if so, I will wrap off some action. So thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Well, I'm actually reminded of something I already know that just comes up again and again. I'm so passionate about it. I'm so thankful that people like Lisa Swanson are in the world contributing to this, but women just do so tremendously well in community. And you're right on with your program. They can go it alone, but women need sisterhood.
Yes.
And we encourage one another. And I love what you're doing. All of those things. If you're postmenopausal and you're looking for a community, find Lisa.
Thank you. My message to the world. I think we've been through a lot in our lives. Most of us, we have been through not just diets and weight gain and things like that. We've had struggles. We've had life changes, big life changes. We've had loss. We've been through a lot. And through all of those changes, we do know ourselves. You know what you want. You know what you don't want. And just stand up and speak. Let your voice be heard. I think our voices have been muffled, to put it mildly, for much too long. And it's time now that women need to stand up and speak. And I don't mean in a protestive way, or if that's what you need to do, go right ahead, but just to be heard, because of what are your needs? What do you need to do to live a happy life so that you can do that? Don't just follow somebody else's because it's what they need. I think we really have to take time to focus on ourselves and realize that that is not selfish. It is self-care. And with that self-care, you're going to become a whole lot healthier and be able to follow through with the other things you need to do for health with your fitness and nutrition. But the other part has to come first.
Wow, a beautiful message from a beautiful soul. The key insights from today, we focused on getting enough protein and strength training, not just cardio training, prioritizing sleep and stress management, track progress with non-scale victories. So don't just judge your victories, whether what happens on the scale. Challenge your limiting beliefs, celebrate every win, build a support network, and don't go it alone. Don't forget to join the Masters of Wellness community on LinkedIn, subscribe to our newsletter, and connect with Lisa at Body and Soul Coaching. Links will be in the description below. If you've got a question for Lisa or a story to share, message us or comment below. Today we learned that midlife is a beginning, not an end. Your strength, vitality, and joy can grow at any age. Subscribe, rate, and review the podcast on Apple, Spotify, or YouTube. Share this episode with a friend who needs inspiration. And next week, we are mastering creating real-life change with Kurak Ashley, a fellow Aussie, world-renowned success coach, speaker, and best-selling author of How Would Love Respond? Looking forward to that one.